So at this point, Utterly and her uncle Will and her young friend Egg are exploring. They've been invited to the island of Summertide to investigate some mysterious old stone circles and burial mounds and things which the local landowner thinks might be of, sort of archaeological value. And they've got lost in the fog. And in the fog, they're looking for shelter at the local rectory, and they don't find it. Of course, they did not reach the rectory. For as they climbed uphill towards the church, the ghostly grey antlers of the Barrow Church oak appeared out of the whiteness above them, and Utterly knew suddenly that this was where they had been going all along. The tree's branches seemed to be reaching out through the fog like gaunt hands waiting to grasp them, and from somewhere beneath it, a golden light shone out, like lamplight from an open door. They picked their way across the slippery lattice of roots and stood gaping in astonishment. At the base of the oak's trunk, a doorway had appeared. It was as if the massive old roots had been drawn aside, revealing two upright stones with a lintel balanced across them and an opening between. Out of this opening shone the golden light, the soft gold of evening sunlight in a summer wood, filtered through layer upon layer of leaves. "Oh," said Utterly, "this was not here yesterday, not a sign of it. Look, there is the scorch mark on the tree. This hole has opened right where I was standing, but I'm sure it was only roots yesterday." "A landslip must have exposed it," said Will. "Or more bloomin' magic," said Egg. "How can there be sunshine on the inside of a hill, especially when we can't see our hands in front of our faces out here?" Will scrambled closer. He ran his hands over the stones, tracing the curves and spirals of ancient carvings half erased by time. He ducked into the opening so that his body blocked out most of the light. "What can you see?" called Utterly. Will did not answer, so she clambered up the roots to join him. A smell was coming from the opening. Not the musty, dusty smell you would expect inside a burial chamber, but a rich scent of growing things. Uncle Will heard Utterly behind him in the doorway and looked back. "Stay outside, Utterly. I'm not altogether sure." He seemed to lose track then of what he was saying, and his words tailed off as he walked further into the hillside. Utterly did not know what it was he was not altogether sure of, but she was not about to let him venture into the old chamber alone. There was a sound coming from inside the hill now, to go with the light and the smell. It was a soft, steady sighing. Utterly felt sure that if she just went with Uncle Will a little way down that bright passageway, she would see the sea, which she had missed so much. She stepped forward, but before she could pass beneath the stone lintel, small, strong hands caught her from behind. "Utterly," shouted Egg, "you don't want to go meddling with whatever's in there." "Let me go," exclaimed Utterly, struggling with him until they slipped on the damp roots and fell, sliding together a yard or more down the slope. "Let me go, Egg. Can't you hear it? Can't you see the light?" "I can," said Egg firmly, "and I know there shouldn't be sunshine underground, nor sweet sounds neither. There's magic in there, Utterly. Wild magic or worse, and only a fool would stick his nose into it. Talking of which—" He turned, meaning to shout, "Come out of there, Will Dark," but the words faded away before they could find their way out of his mouth. Utterly yelped with shock. In the seconds she had spent looking at Egg, Uncle Will had vanished, and the massive roots of the old oak seemed silently and swiftly to have woven themselves back in place, hiding the stone doorway entirely.